Welcome to our 10:30 kids story time. I've got a different hat. I don't know if you've been watching every day. I have worn a different hat every day during this. Eventually, I'm afraid that if this lasts, too much longer, that I may begin to run out of hats. But I've got some hunting hats I've not worn yet. I probably have, and I think someone's sending me maybe half a dozen hats, and so I've got some other hats coming. And if you like my hats, and if you'll send me a text, I might somehow hook you up with one of my hats here. So you let me know. I don't know how observant you are. If you're an observant person, that means you notice things that are going on around you. Do you notice anything about the shirt that I'm wearing today? It's a camouflage shirt. I did hear someone say that they couldn't see me against the camouflage behind me, and the animals, I was camouflaged and they couldn't hardly see me. I think they were just kidding. But I wore this shirt last night. And yes, I'm wearing it again today. What? You're wearing the same shirt 2 days in a row? You're right. See, I got a shower yesterday, and I put this on late in the day, late in the evening, and I didn't really do a whole lot. I didn't work up a sweat. I didn't do anything like that. Took this shirt off when I went to bed, and I laid it off to the side, and I thought I can wear that again in the morning. I want to tell you about a life lesson, in a sense, today. A life lesson. There are lots of lessons we need to learn in life. And so what I'm talking about, wearing the same clothes that I wore last night, as long as they're clean, you might pick something up and give it the smell test. Doesn't smell bad, it's not dirty. You could give it the eye test and look at it, hold it up in front of you, and, well, you've spilled hot chocolate all down the front of it. You can't wear that again today. That would look bad. But so many times, young people, they start to put on clothes, and after they get it on, they decide, I don't like it. I don't like the way it fits. Or it doesn't look right. And they take it off, and they just throw it on the floor. And they might do that with 3 outfits, and their clothes are scattered everywhere on the floor, and you do that every day of the week. Over and over and over and over and over and over again. And now your mom's washing the clothes, and she's washing clean clothes that you've never worn. There's a life lesson here. There's a Bible verse. God's got something to say about everything. There's a verse in the Bible that says, to him that knoweth to do good, and doeth it not, to him it is sin. And so if you take all the do's and thous and these and thous out of that verse, it says, young person, you know what the right thing to do is. If you're not doing it, you're doing the wrong thing. And so now I've reminded you, next time you put on a clean shirt and you decide you don't want to wear it, and you take it off real quick, before you throw it down on the floor, you're going to think, no, that's not the right thing to do. And then when we talk about your room, you've been off school for a few weeks. I know you've been doing some schoolwork. Is your room clean? Maybe your mom asked you that, or your dad asked. That's one of their questions they ask you all the time. Is your room clean? Wouldn't it be nice if you were able to smile and look at them and say, yes, it is? Well, they might get up and go walk down the hall and open the door to your room, and they can see the carpet, the floor. There's nothing on the floor. Everything's been folded and put away where it belongs. You haven't stuffed everything under the bed or in the closet. They go in there and they look around, and they have to sit down, keep from passing out, because they're so impressed that your room is clean. See, that's the right thing to do, but we don't always do it. And so God says, if you know the right thing to do and you're not doing it, you're doing the wrong thing. So is your room clean? Is your room trashed? Is your room such a disaster area that Bigfoot himself could be living in your room and no one even knows it? How bad is your room? You see, when we have to do things over and over and over, we don't sometimes like that. But that's part of growing up, in a sense, learning to do things over and over and over. Things like combing your hair in the morning, washing your face in the morning, brushing your teeth in the morning, taking a shower before you go to bed, not being afraid to use soap, and learning to wash your hands. I do some things around our house here. It's just Wendy and I, but I do some things over and over and over and over and over and over and over. Every day, the agreement is Wendy cooks, and I do the dishes. And I do them over and over and over and over again. And it would just be wrong. What would happen if I just said, that's it, I'm not doing any more dishes? Well, the dishes would pile up, and then one day Wendy might say, well, I've run out of dishes, I can't do any more cooking. Oh my, I better get busy. And so I don't want the dishes to pile up. I've already been up early this morning and did the dishes that were in the sink from late last night, just a couple dishes. I've already run the sink full, and I do that every day. When I take my clothes off, I put them in the wash machine and take them in the washroom. I actually wash and dry my own clothes. And Wendy does hers. And you may say, well, I can't believe it. Well, guess what? The way I look at that, I wear them. So why can't I wash them? And maybe if you're getting to be 10, 12, 14 years old, you ought to be old enough, you ought to know how to run the wash machine and the dryer. Take care of your clothes. I fold them. I put them away. During the night, I get up at least once or twice in the night and come down. I leave the upstairs of our house and come down in the basement where the wood stove is, and I tend the wood stove. I might take ashes out. I might pour water in the pan that keeps the moisture in the air, and I might put water in that. I might put a few sticks of wood in there, and I'm doing that at 2 o'clock in the morning. And during all this cold winter, and it's still cold here in springtime, we need a fire going lots of nights. I do that over and over and over and over and over. I try to make sure there's gas in the vehicles. I try to be responsible for that. I cut the wood. I stack the wood. I split the wood. I try to take care of all that over and over and over and over and over. If you live on a farm, there are certain jobs you've got to feed the livestock, and you've got to do that over and over and over. You got to get the cracked corn. You got to turn the chickens loose, or you got to throw a handful of corn to the chickens. You got to go in and gather the eggs. You got to make sure that you put the chickens away at night so that Mr. Weasel doesn't get in there to them. And you've got to do that over and over and over. You got to milk the cow. You got to slop the hogs. You got to get in the garden and hoe the weeds out of all that. Those are all things that you've got to tend over and over and over and over. And as a young person, as a small boy or girl, you learn things. Your mom and dad give you jobs. And they say, you got to be responsible for that. And as you get to be an early teenager, your job, your responsibilities get bigger. As you get older and you get your driver's license, your parents are counting on you to drive with sense and not be reckless. There are so many things that we do over and over and over. I want to read another verse to you. And this verse happens to come from 1 Corinthians chapter 13. And 1 Corinthians 13 is the love chapter. It's how we treat other people and how we demonstrate that we have love one for another. And there's verse after verse after verse that says love, 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 and all the things love does. But right at the end of that, this is interesting. Verse number 11 says this: when I was a child, I spake as a child, I understood as a child, I thought as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things. And so, it's that thought, those thoughts are in the love chapter, boys and girls. If you want to show your parents that you love them, you begin to grow up. You begin to say, no, that's a childish thing to say. That's a childish thing to do. I'm going to start being a good, responsible young man. I'm going to become the right kind of young lady. I'm going to start to grow up and show that I can do the right thing over and over and over and over again. Start today. If you haven't already been doing it, start today and say, that's it. I'm going to grow up a little bit. I'm going to start being responsible. I'm going to clean the floor up in my room. I'm going to stop throwing my stuff around. My mom, my dad aren't going to have to tell me about all the things I'm doing wrong. I'm going to correct some of it myself. I'm going to become a fine young man. I'm going to become a princess of a young lady or a fine lad for my dad. So you have a good day. After a hat like this, rawr!